time we give ourselves the opportunity to bring our consciousness fully into this present moment. So I just invite you to arrange your body in a way that is comfortable for you. You might want to close your eyes or perhaps just lower your gaze. And let's just take a deep breath together. And in this moment, we notice how we be in this space. What are we bringing into this moment? Whatever feelings we have, whatever we're carrying in our heart and in our minds, we make it welcome here. And by welcoming it, we open ourselves to even greater possibilities. We open ourselves to what it is that Spirit is seeking to reveal to us, in us, through us, as us. Making ourselves ready for what it is, what insights are perfect for us in this moment. Knowing, trusting that it's all available to us right here, right now. And so with open hearts, open minds, we give thanks for all that is and all that is to be, and we call it good. And so it is. Amen.
We're going to sing a chant called Right Where I Am. I just love this song. It's a simple song and wonderful to listen to or to sing, and you're encouraged to sing along, but God hears all prayers, spoken, unspoken, sung, and listened to. Right where I am, I couldn't be any closer. Right where I stand, the presence of God is holding my hand. I can feel this. Mani Padme Om, and we sing it over and over and over again, just as a chant to sort of settle into our hearts. It's a grounding prayer. If you get lost in the repetition, that's a good thing. I also want to celebrate our good fortune to have Jessica and Jamaica here tonight. All right, we'll come in here.
So I invite you now just to settle into the seat you've chosen and take a deep breath in. And allow yourself with the out-breath to shift and allow your body to readjust itself in relaxing and stretching and opening, adjusting shoulders, neck and head, so that the top of your head stretches slightly, the back of your neck toward the ceiling, your shoulders adjusting, your spine comfortably stretched and straight, hips repositioning, shifting, so that your legs Proceed from your hips to the floor, through your feet, with your feet folded beneath you, your arms hanging from your shoulders, your hands upright or comfortably in your lap. Breathe. And allow yourself now to let your mind drift to your heart center, in the center of your torso, behind your physical heart and surrounding it, the heart center of your being, breathing into it and softening it, open and relaxed, allowing your heart center now to respond to thoughts of peace and serenity, warmth and love, open to possibilities, open to joy. And so settling in now, breathing evenly and regular, breathing, and with your inner vision notice where you hold peace in your being. Peace is always here. It may not be in the world around you, it may not be in events, but it is always within. Where do you find it now? Peace. Call forth peace. Into your experience now. Peace is the backdrop behind your thoughts, the busyness of your life. Finding peace now. Breathing. Relaxing. And now with your next breath, find where love arises from within you. The magnitude of love, the warmth of love, arising, expanding from within you. Find it. The foundation of your being. Where is it within you? And breathing now. Breathing. Relax and open now to where you go within to find gratitude. Where does gratitude arise from within you? A smile, a fulfillment. Notice how these things are readily available. Peace, love, and gratitude. Without need to prompt, with a face or conditions or an event, but merely opening to them, already present, already available. Already here, even in this. Breathing. Calling forth the wisdom, the joy, the healing, the spirit, the life. They are always with you. Always here. Always flowing. Breathing. And gently return now to your body, to this time and place, to your breath, to the seat you have chosen, to your body seated in it. Breathing in, letting go, and be here now. And so it is. Amen.
So with that feeling of expansion in the meditation, we touch that place within ourselves where we know ourselves to be all good, to be perfect, whole, complete, to be expressions of love. And one of the ways we get to share our love with the world is to contribute our financial good to that which we want to see more of in the world: more love, more harmony, more peace, more unity. So I invite you to prepare your blessing whichever way you would like. We have some options here on the screen. And as you do so, I invite us all to say our offering blessing together. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all the good I am and have, all the good I give and receive. So it is.
So it is. Amen. Well, we're going to sing a lively, knee-slapping song, her special request this morning, this evening. What is it?
Some bright morning when this life is o'er, I'll fly away to that home on God's celestial shore. I'll fly away. I'll fly away, oh glory. I'll
That was super fun. How many people have seen "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou"? It is biblical verse in my household. We repeat it more often than we repeat words out of the Bible, actually. Thank you for arranging. Thank you for singing that for us. The reason I chose it and asked for it tonight is because in this final segment of the Untethered Soul, Michael Singer is talking about contemplating death. And typically, you may know that that song is a staple in some traditions for funerals or for memorial services. I'll fly away. I mean, it's that. A few more days on this weary path and I'll fly away. And it's just such a song of jubilation while there's a real undercurrent of sadness, at the same time. But it's both. It's just a beautiful tradition. And so it is consistent with a lot of traditions, different faith traditions, that a part of the spiritual practice is to contemplate death, to use death as a point of meditation, to consider one's own death, to consider the death of life, of things around you, of loss, to contemplate one's own ending. What does that mean? What will that be like? What will it feel like? How would that be distinguished from how I feel and see and experience myself now? What resistance do I have to it? How can I find a way to not only contemplate it, to not only accept that will happen, but to actually be unafraid of it, to walk with it, knowing that no one is promised the next hour, the next moment. None of us are promised anything. We pretend like we have it. We look at those longevities, predictions and the numbers of people and the ways in which the ages that people have died, and you figure you've got at least this long. But nobody has any guarantees. And the ending can come in so many ways that we can't avoid it either. Therefore, we do indeed walk with death, whether we contemplate it or not. Singer invites us to consider, how would you spend your last week? If you knew, okay, you got one week at best. You feel fine, and you've got a week. What would you do? How would you run around? How would you behave? Would you complete your bucket list? Would you run around and try to check all the boxes off real fast? Would you eat all your favorite foods? I would, but I don't know. I mean, why bother? Weight Watchers? Why? So, would you get right with God? Is there something you've been putting off, in other words? Is there something that you need to do that you are waiting for, I don't know, Armageddon or something to really push you to making peace, perhaps? So those are questions to ask yourself. Do you really take your own pulse? Are you feeling like maybe this would be something that you could reconcile if this really were an experience that you were given a week? Jesus' reflection on death includes a parable about Lazarus and the rich man. I'm just going to paraphrase it here. It was Lazarus was a man who had really nothing in life, and he sat outside the temple gates and begged for alms. That's his whole life. He was sickly. He was. They said he had open sores. The Bible gives that impression that he was just really without anything. And of course, one day, eventually, he dies, and he goes to heaven where Father Abraham is, and he ascends to the comfort and the peace and the joys of that deserved, place after life, after having such a hard life. And at the same time, a rich man who was in his midst all this time also dies, and he goes to hell. Now, I don't want to get into associating. Well, I think this parable has been used many times about the sinfulness of too much money or whatever. That is not at all what this story is about. But it just so happens the life that he lived apparently took him to hell, and he was in very desperate place. And he looks up and he sees Lazarus just basking in the out of the flames of agony, is what he says, and also seeing him so comforted and in peace. And he asked Father Abraham, please send Lazarus back and tell my brothers to please, follow, get their lives in order, clean it up. This stuff is real, Tell Lazarus to go back. And Abraham says, Father Abraham says, no. He says, they got Moses, they got the prophets, they got all the warning they need. He says, yeah, but they would really listen to somebody who came back from the dead and told them what it was really like. And Father Abraham says, if someone isn't going to believe Moses or the prophets, they're not going to believe somebody who shows up raised from the dead either. And we live in a weirdo time and culture right now where people don't believe anything, even the stuff they see, they don't believe is true or real, and we're not even dealing with the same measuring stick to figure out what's true and real or whatever. We're just not anywhere in the same wavelength. So we understand what that's like and how that could be. The point is, a good life is its own reward now, in this moment, with 20, 30, 40, 50 years stretching ahead of you, right? A good life is its own reward, not heaven instead of hell, not amassing riches and comforts and experiences is a good life, but rather a good life is peace. It's gratitude. It's living in love and appreciation of beauty and the miracles all around. It's engagement fully in life just as it comes. Not the way we want it often or sometimes, but it comes and we greet it and we make room for it and we find a way to accept it and we deal with it and we walk with it. And we give parts of our life, time from our life, in service to others, just as we can give it, as we're made, as we have gifts to give. That's a good life. A good life is not necessarily the completion of a bucket list either. Even checking off the last box, ego would not be satisfied even then, I promise you. You would not find peace even with a fully checked off bucket list. So Singer says, so why not be bold enough to regularly reflect on how you would live that last week? If you were to ask this question of people who are truly awakened, they wouldn't have any problem answering you. Not a thing would change inside of them. Not a thought would cross their minds. If death were to come in an hour, if death were to come in a week, or if death were to come in a year, they would live exactly the same way as they're living now. It's not a single thing they carry inside of their hearts that they would rather be doing. In other words, they're living their lives fully and are not making compromises or playing games with themselves or cheating or holding back secrets, keeping things hidden. Singer says, you fear death because you crave life. You fear death because you think there's something to get that you haven't experienced yet. Many people feel that death will take something away from them. The wise person realizes that death is constantly giving them something. Death is giving meaning to your life. We all know this is just a way station in a way. It's got a beginning and we know it has an end. no matter what length of time we think we might have. The idea here is that this is a beautiful gift. And you know, part of its beauty is its uncertainty. It is its uncontrollable aspect. If we could control everything, what good would that be? We'd be just, entertaining our egos. Well, we already do that, but, we already spend time and money doing that. But you get what I'm saying. There's not any fulfillment in it. It's a pastime at best. Singer says, this is how to live your life. You live it as though you were on the verge of death, because you are. So that's how to view death and to use it as a tool of reflection. Consider that. Befriend it. Make time to take your own pulse. Breathe into your body to see, is there something else you want to do before you take your last breath, and are you doing it or on your way to doing it? The second segment that Michael Singer brings to this piece is the secret of the middle way. There is a teaching in Buddhism that is recognized as, from the Buddha, around just walking the middle way, not in any extreme. There's a lot of teaching around how to find that equanimity and how to find that balance. It's also in the Tao. It's in several traditions. But Singer says it's also recognized as wisdom in other traditions. He says, no, this is actually what I say. It is the idea that everything has two extremes. He didn't know to say this. He said, I'm saying this. Everything has a spectrum of the swing of the pendulum, living in the extremes of too much or too little, and you can't survive. Play that little game in your head. Too much of a really good thing can still kill you. Too much or too little of something really good might also end your life. You can think of those extremes. So there isn't an automatic thing that an extreme, living in an extremity, is useful, helpful, healthy, good, conducive to good life. Now, Michael Singer says, to be efficient, you must center all of your energies on the path. If you do this, the energies that used to be wasted, swinging sideways, will get pulled into the center. He says this concentration of energies is used to accomplish the task much more efficiently. Whatever task you want to apply your energy to, it is much more efficient when you have pulled your energy and your focus away from extremity and trying to find the middle way. The place of balance, not too much, not too little, not too often, not too infrequently. Just find your way, that this is a good balance. Singer says this is the power of the Tao. When you stop swinging between the opposites, you'll find that you have far more energy than you ever imagined. Because this is where it is. Because you're not straining yourself. You're not reaching and stretching. You're not at extremity. You're not putting such pressures on your physical self, on your emotional self, on your psychic self. All of that. You're whole. You're present. You're here. You're at peace. You're comfortable. Singer says if you choose to center and not participate in the extremes, you'll come to know the Tao. You don't grab it. You don't even touch it. It's just what the energy does when it's not being used to swing toward the extremes. It finds its own way to the center of each event that takes place in life and remains quietly in the middle. There is a middle way in everything. There is a middle way in every moment. There is a middle way to every task. He says the Tao is hollow, empty, Like the eye of a hurricane, its power is its emptiness. All things swirl around it, but it is unmoved. The swirl of life draws its energy from the center, and the center draws its energy from the swirl of life. All these laws are the same in weather, in nature, and in every aspect of your life. Why? Because we're one. We all play by the same rules. This is all one experience being lived through different points of view. But we all live by the same rules. See, the lesson is to simply be. Not doing, not sitting in the easy chair and never accomplishing or doing anything, not taking care of yourself because that's effort or energy. You get that. Those are extremes. The lesson is to simply be intact. And when you start to stretch a little too far, just stop. Just stop. Return. If you need to start, just start. Just don't do, just do. No drama. Just clear intention and uninhibited action. Clarity. This is the next thing. I don't know what happens after that. The Tao awaits. The practice is to stop, breathe, experience calm, experience peace, and from the peace of the emptiness of thought, emotions, ambition, pressure, stress, emotions, simply take the next step. When you're not in any of those things, not being run by those, just your next breath in the emptiness. I don't know what happens after that, but I know it. This is the next one. Singer says, eventually you'll see that in the way of the Tao, you're not going to wake up, see what to do, and then go do it. That's what we would like, right? That's the pill I want to take, right? I just wake up in the morning, boop, boop, boop. I have all the energy. I know exactly what to do. I know how to do it. I have capabilities. Or like the Matrix, I just, plug into a program. I get brought up to speed. I run out the door. I just, climb in a helicopter and fly it. In the Tao, you are blind, Singer says, and you have to learn how to be blind. You can never see where the Tao is going. You can only be there with it. A blind person walks down a city street with the use of a cane. Let's give that cane a name, he says. It's the seeker of the extremes. That's what the cane is. It's the feeler of the edges. It's the toucher of the yin and the yang. They're not trying to find where they should walk, these blind persons. They're trying to find where they shouldn't walk. They're finding the extremes. If you can't see your way, all you can do is feel for the edges. But if you feel the edges and don't go there, you will automatically stay in the way. That's how you live in the Tao. There's no map. There's no announcement. There's nothing from on high, because it's already within you. It's already empty. It's already with you. It's your job to stay with it. And the third thing Singer mentions is, now, taking this practice of the untethered soul, the practice of opening our hearts, of staying awake and alert and open, of letting go of all of the things that hold us back, of forgiving as we go, of letting go of the restrictions and the fears, and really just trying to always fall back into, where is the peace in this? How can I find peace and be here now? however it is you do, you will find that you will eventually become more and more aligned with that to the point where you will get closer and closer to God. It is a spiritual practice, but non-spiritual people, people who didn't have that as an intention, practicing these things of just living a good life will find themselves closer and closer to God. He calls this segment the loving eyes of God. He says, as you identify with the part of you that is beyond the personal self, a transformation begins to take place. Over time, as you observe the transformation, you'll see what it's like to be coming toward God. You actually begin to know what it feels like to be moving in the direction of Spirit. The changes you see within you are reflective of the force you're approaching. Just as rain makes you wet and fire makes you warm, so you can know the nature of God by looking into the mirror of your transformed self. What are you becoming? What are you valuing? This too is the nature of God. It may not be all God is, but God would recognize God's self in that. He says, this is not philosophy. This is a direct experience. He says, as you associate less with the physical and psychological parts of your being, you begin to identify more with the flow of pure energy. What does it feel like to identify more with spirit than with form? You used to walk around feeling anxiety and tension. Now, you walk around feeling love. Love. That's just the opening of the heart. We started with that throughout this time, throughout this series. Breathing into your heart, practicing. When you notice constriction, when you notice preoccupation, when you notice defensiveness, when you notice resentment, when you notice anything that is not like peace and expansion and freedom and love, breathe into it and find it. We practice that in your meditation. Practice finding it. It's not related to the conditions outside of you. You bring it or you hide it. He says you just feel love for no reason. Your backdrop is love. Your backdrop is openness, beauty, and appreciation. You don't have to make yourself feel that way, because that's how spirit feels. He says, what happens to one who walks this path toward God? What transformations do they go through along the way? To understand this, he says, imagine what would happen if you started feeling tremendous love for all creatures, for every plant, for every animal, and for all the beauties of nature. Love, just coming out of you. Imagine if every child seemed like your own, and every person you saw looked like a beautiful flower with its own color, its own expression, shape, sounds. As you went deeper and deeper, you would start noticing a phenomenal thing. You'll find you're no longer judging or comparing or distinguishing or prioritizing, stacking. One is better than another. I like that flower. It's not as pretty as this one over here. He says the process of judging has simply stopped. There's just appreciating and honoring. Where there used to be judging, there's now respecting, loving, and cherishing. To differentiate this from that is to apply judging. or the way I like to think of it, it's drawing a line where there aren't any. To see, to experience, and to honor is to participate in life instead of standing back and judging it. Because, my gosh, suffering starts with judgment, doesn't it? It does in Karen Tudor's head. If I start judging, I am already separating myself. I'm already outside the picture. I'm the one that drew a line, and I've stepped outside. And I'm never going to be pleased, and my ego's never going to be happy, and it's never going to be enough, and it's never going to be pretty enough, good enough, high enough, big enough, enough, you know? Because I drew a line that doesn't exist, and I have cut myself off from all of those things where enough and beauty and peace abound, where there is more than I can handle and more than I can experience. This experience isn't sudden, it is evolutionary. So if you think, I followed this book with, Reverend Karen and with Reverend Jean Marie, and I should be I've been practicing, I've been doing it, I should be right on time. Why aren't I, am I feeling God closer and closer to me? But I would say the practice is your life, the extent of your life, and your practice of just beginning to constantly allow yourself to be led and recognize that you're going to have moments where you get it and moments where you feel it, smell it, taste it, when you're really in it and you're going to know it. But you may not be able to stay there, and something will drag you away, and then you'll just have to keep practicing and remembering. Check your heart. This is the best place you can check. How is your heart right now? How is your heart expanded? And if it isn't, just breathe. Don't punish yourself or judge yourself or draw a line there. Just, oh yeah, I can be undefended. Truth walks through the world undefended. My heart can just radiate love. I can just be love, even in this. Like having a child or helping raise one, and then seeing strangers' babies and feel affection, as much affection as the one that you take care of. Judging and criticizing draws lines where there are none, and that creates conflict, separation, suffering. So just stop. Just stop. Don't punish yourself, don't berate yourself, don't spend time, why am I doing this, how did I get here, gotta talk to my therapist again, I gotta come up with another, no! Just stop. Just practice stopping. You can stop 57 million times today. Just stop, but every time you stop, you'll be in peace. So that means 57 million times you ended up in peace. Doesn't matter how long you lasted there, only that you got there. Find a way to love. Find a way to accept. Find a way to love even this thing. I have had some construction on either side of my condo, and it has shook up, apparently, a rodent problem that was come through the building. I don't know, opened it up, and I have found mice. I can't even hardly say the word in my kitchen. And they're just things that leave evidence, but I didn't see them, and so we're oh God, we're practicing, putting some traps and all that kind of thing. And then I opened up the pantry. And it was there, and it fell down, it jumped down, and it ran or scurried past me. Of course, I screamed, and it ran out. But then I saw it the little collection of things it had harvested from my trash can. And it was it had harvested some old noodles, some pasta, some pasta. And then, those little cheeses that you get that are in the foils, those little cheeses that we finished eating and put in there. Well, he had pulled one of those out and had it laying there. A couple of cherry tomatoes were on the side. And a little fragment of a paper towel wrapped up on the shelf right behind the trash can. And it was just adorable. I was like, I have a gourmet mouse in here. And so I have an affection for it, while it must not live in my house. That's a no-no. No, that's not happening. But it is kind of cute, and I don't want to find it in the trap, and I just don't want it to come. And I think we have found where it's getting in, and I think we have blocked it off. So pray with me. No one has to die for this to be over for me, okay? Singer says, you have a loving God. In truth, you have love itself for a God. And love cannot do other than love. Your God is in ecstasy. And there's nothing you can do about it. You can't change it, and you can't make it more. And if God is in ecstasy, he says, I wonder what God sees when God sees you. Namaste.
What's the mouse's name?
I know. I don't go that far. I don't want to encourage him in thinking he's not part of the family. Not part of the family. No, he needs to go find another place. Yes.
How do you know it's a him?
Yeah. They cannot stay there.
Well, when you were talking about early in your presentation, you were talking about that death is an inextricable part of living. It's just part of the social contract that we adopt when we plop into the world. And relatively recently, like in the last few years, I've begun to think about our incapacity to think about non-existence. I mean, it seems obvious on the face of it, but there's something about where I am in my life, the age that I am, that I began to, in other words, even our contemplation about death is done through this experience of living. And so we make up all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, just boatloads of it. And there is no knowing, because Lazarus hasn't come to speak to me. The parables are interesting, and they tell great stories, but they're told by living writers, and we make up all those magnificent stories. And I think it was liberating for me to accept that that's what's happening. That we don't really know what's on the other side of life. And so then you use that as a springboard to talk about the last week of life. What would you do? And I have a few thoughts about that, but I don't need to dominate the whole conversation.
Well, interesting you speak of knowing, because when you were talking about, before you got to the suffering, how much judgment causes suffering.
Oh, yeah.
I was thinking about how much of my own suffering has been created by thinking I needed to know things that I didn't really need to know. And placing, if I just could figure this part out, or if I just could see this far down the road, to get some comfort from that, to get some security from that, and still catch myself doing that, whether it be little things or the bigger picture. And so I think it is that, or what are we okay with not knowing right? That's a huge freedom comes with being okay with not knowing.
Wow.
Mhm. Well, it's the fool in the deck of Tarot. It's the fool who's about to, blithely step off the edge of a cliff. Most decks will show that as being the case because we're just naive. But there's a certain freedom in that. There is a certain power in that. And the truth is, we cannot protect ourselves from misfortune and hurricanes and floods and wildfires and every other malady that we see coming. We are freezing weather in Houston with no water and no power. Who saw that coming, Gee whiz. And, and it's just, it isn't that we can't take actions, that we can't learn from our experiences, that we can't prevent and that we can't plan. We can to a point, but we cannot prevent misfortune and loss and sadness and difficulty and challenge and pain and real pain, real body pain, real heart pain. Those things will come, but what we don't have to do is nurture them so that they continue to make a trip back through our consciousness by revisiting it over and over and over and inflicting pain upon ourselves by that, worrying in advance, or any of those things. That's the thing that I feel like God is like, you're misusing your power. You're misusing your life, You do not have to suffer. And I can't take it away from you because you take it back out of my hand and you run it through again, You just live in torture. Torture yourself.
Yeah, I've heard a friend say, if you don't like what you're thinking, think something different.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems obvious, right? And if you kind of get stuck like that, I'm still thinking that thing again, then think about God. Think about, identify with something different. And that kind of lift you out of that. It reminds me of a great line from Zorba the Greek, where someone says, Zorba, you live as if you're going to live forever. And he says, no, I live as if I died tomorrow. So I was thinking about that,
Exactly.
if I only had a week left, what would I do differently? Would I eat differently? There's probably some things I wouldn't do, but it's those, all the cell phone calls that were recorded from the people who were in planes that were going down, it's always about, I love you, and that's, why don't we do that all the time?
Yes, exactly right. We don't have to wait for catastrophe or the end. I would say too that this whole notion of what happens after this life. I'd say that fundamentally one of the reasons we can't really know for sure is that what we see. You were saying, because we look at it through the eyes of consciousness, right?
Yes.
The eyes of consciousness and life itself. But everything else that's reflected, of which we are a part of all of it, never really dies. It isn't that that particular animal will spring back to life, but every part of it is being reabsorbed and recycled. And running right over wherever it died are the next generation. And everything is reborn. Everything is reborn. Why wouldn't we assume we do too?
Beautiful.
In some kind of way.
I think of Eckhart Tolle talks about some of our suffering comes from making the mistake that we are our life situation. What we often call our life is actually just our life situation, this personality, this body, this role I play, that role I play. Whereas that is just a situation that we find ourselves in. Some of it's a lifetime situation, some of it's a week, a month, a day, you get it. But we are actually life itself. And so if we can see that we are life itself, then I think that, what you're saying is so true. it'll be in a different manifestation. It'll be, it is us. How can it go anywhere?
Right.
How can it go anywhere?
Well, and I've processed that for myself too, and just decided that I'm an optimist. That's one thing. I'm saddled with that perspective. And I'll tell you that I see no downside to assuming there's life on the other side. I honestly don't, because if I'm dead wrong, I'll never know, And you know what? My ego will rest in peace,
I love that. That's great.
No downside.
Yeah, the only other thing that comes to mind to add to that is happiness is there for the taking. It's like if it's a choice. I recently started conducting Pride Chorus Houston, and I'm like a lot older than most of the singers there, and I'm there to have fun. I conducted Portland Gay Men's Chorus from 1982 to 1990. That was a long time ago. That was right in the heart of the AIDS crisis too. I was 10 years younger than the next youngest singer, and I found myself, supporting in a way that I would never imagined. And people would ask the question, why are we here? Are we here for the good music? Are we here for the social reasons or for political reasons? And of course, the obvious answer is yes. Yeah, it's all those things. But now I'm getting another dip at it. That was at the beginning of my career. This is sort of the end of my career, and I come in and I see all the earnestness of people who didn't live through the AIDS crisis and didn't have to learn about safe sex and didn't have to ponder what it is to risk getting fired because somebody found out you were gay. They just have a really, really different world, and yet they're still so earnest at times. And I'm just thinking, I'm here to have fun. and if I'm working hard and I can kind of feel the tension in the room, kind of there's something to do, is whatever. I said, no, lighten up. It's just not worth it. It's too hard to not have fun. Always. And I'm using that metaphor just as your mouse metaphor made it real for us, It's like, you're a friend with this. I'm bringing that experience into even this conversation. If I have a slightly uncomfortable moment where I no, wait, what's the right way to say this or whatever, just like, wait a minute, I have a choice here too. I'm accepting it just as it is and just as it is not, and know that it's enough.
Exactly right. I'd say that's a pretty good place to move on to our practice. Thank Michael Singer.
So just let us take this feeling of expansion, of acceptance, of the knowledge that we have choice. We have power. We are empowered in that we are self-expressions of the divine. And so in this human experience, we do know that there are challenges. We do know that there's suffering. Sometimes it's our own, sometimes it's our loved ones. We carry these challenges around in our head, in our heart, in our bodies. And so right now we just take a moment to call to mind any of these kind of sticky situations or people in your life that you love and that you want to see experience a greater expression of their own wholeness, a greater knowing of peace, a greater healing. We call to mind those people now. You can speak their name out loud or hold them in your heart. so we know that each one of these beloved ones, each one of these situations that we're praying over that we're not quite sure how the outcome is going to happen, none of them is lost in the mind of God. There is a solution to every problem. There is a outpicturing of health, of wholeness, of completeness that is happening now. And so what we can know for all of our loved ones is their wholeness, their perfectness, their completeness. We see them lifted in love. We see them knowing themselves as an expression of divine love. We see them knowing what it is to do the best thing for their next step. They all have the wisdom inside of themselves, and we know that for them. And we know it for ourselves. And so for this knowing, we feel that backdrop of joy. We feel that backdrop of peace as we go forth to be the expressions of love that we were meant to be, that we were born to be. And so it is. Amen. I just want to invite you. We have one of our Unity prayer partners, Jared, back here. He has a purple ribbon. So if any of you feel called to pray with a real life human being one-on-one, that service is available for you.
Thank you. Thank you for being with us, Jared. And so let us speak our meta practice prayer. It is the prayer for the welfare of all beings, and we speak it together. By the power of this practice, may all beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May all beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they know the sacred joy that arises in the space beyond suffering. May they rest in equanimity that knows no grasping or hatred. May they experience the equality of all beings. May my practice be of benefit to all.